I'm asking for help with understanding the worst problem in the world, which is, trigger warning, child exploitation. Quote, what is the single most hated group of people, ethnicity, culture, nationality, etc.? Quote, I'm going to say pedophiles. They seem to be so widely loathed that even other convicts consider them the lowest scum in prison. Quote, pedophiles and child sex offenders are widely described as the most universally loathed individuals, often considered the lowest of the low, even among other criminals, with strong emotional reactions to them globally. So, every time I try to learn, which has been about 6 years now, or more, maybe, I run into a wall. I make the mistake of thinking that I need to solve everything. I make the mistake of thinking that I'm sort of like a lone wolf who will, do my part against child exploitation and then write about it or make these videos. I don't even know anymore if I should keep trying to understand it and keep trying to learn. I spent so much time preaching about problems and solutions, but I just keep getting my knowledge just reset, it feels like. Like I don't know anything. And this is for a variety of reasons. I feel like when I laser focus on, say, one problem, like how we're going to organize and maybe reform the law to, I don't know, maybe better serve survivors of child sexual abuse, I then start to notice, and this is just an example, right? But I then start to just notice how society is rotten on every single level. And I don't even need to mention the levels anymore, because look at the federal government. That's the one that everybody knows, right? So I live in the United States region of the world, right? Everybody knows what's going on there. I need not say anymore. My problem is, how do we navigate through this sea of overwhelm, this entire ocean of just drowning in information? And then how do we actually act on it? Without talking, because the time for talking has expired, in my opinion. What are we going to do now for real action? But because of the complexity and because of how many different problems flow into each other and then flow into different problems, and just because of how exploitative society is, I mean, apparently you can't even buy chocolate, you can't even buy sugar or clothes without risking contributing to an exploitative business abroad. That's how bad it is. And those are the details, those are the exact details that get overlooked. We all fit together like puzzle pieces. And all of these problems fit together like puzzle pieces, in a way. In a functional world, ideally. So some of the most interesting conversations that I have are with my brother. We talk from time to time, and then we end up talking about child exploitation, because when we were younger, we discovered the hell that awaited us through online child exploitation. We got to see what predators were up to, because we were tech savvy enough to find out exactly what goes on, and find out exactly how the internet was used and just completely abused by predators. And it affected me, and I'm sure it affected him. But we'll talk from time to time about the past. And I'll say, yeah, I mean, I'm working on this. I'm really trying to do something here. I'm really trying to make something great. And he'll be like, oh, well, what are you doing, though? And then what I realize is I don't actually have anything to back up all of this work that I've been doing for years and years. Because I have to explain to him, I'm just writing. Like I'm just writing. Like I'm really trying to get like a team organized to maybe uh to get a team organized like online to then maybe try to figure out how to reform and fill in the gaps of some of these legal processes that are getting in the way, that are harming people and preventing them from getting these predators dealt with, right? And so I have like lots of and it's true, like I have so many plans, I have so many ideas for what we need to do. And I work on it all the time, even still, all these years later. But I don't have anything to show for it. I don't have predators arrested. I don't have significant legal change. I don't have like some kind of contract with the FBI. Right? There's no like Chris Hansen sting operation that I have to show for it. That's not even my intention, by the way. I don't want to do something along those lines. Instead, I have a different vision for things. And I'll get to that in a moment. But these conversations just reveal just how difficult this all is. How difficult it is to embark on this work and try to not cause any sort of unintended consequences along the way. But also you want to understand the system from beginning to end. We want to know how our reports are being handled. If say we report a predator exploitation situation of any kind online, we want to know how that's going to be dealt with. And there's just layers and layers of disappointment, really. And not gonna lie, it's really affected me. I don't wanna come across as pathetic. I want to share the deepest truths about what is going on and what I truly care about in life. This is what I truly, truly care about in life, is trying to rescue vulnerable people who are young. Number one, because no young person ever should have to deal with anything. They're innocent by default, right? And number two, I have this idea, right, that hopefully if you just help people and if you're just good to people, then maybe they'll just be good to everything else in return, and then maybe we will have, at last, a good world. Now, it's complex, right, because we do have a good world in a lot of ways, and I don't want to take from that, but we are missing things, and that is why I'm here to live and to try these things and to try to figure this out. So I'm not going to give up. I want to make that clear. I'm not going to give up. This is what you do as a professional. And I'm not a professional in the traditional sense, but I am a professional in the sense that I want to learn these things. I want to essentially understand them from the perspective of like just the average everyday peasant who doesn't want to get, a 4-year, 10-year degree in law enforcement or law or in anything like that. I just want to be like the average peasant the average person who can do something, who can make real change with very limited resources and limited time, of course. For me, it's a little bit different because, I put in extra time, I guess, as we've noticed here with this video, some extra time to make up for all the shit that I think I learned that I didn't actually learn, but I suppose I should get to that now. So, I had no idea how complex child exploitation as a whole actually is. We have root causes. We have understanding which type of abuse causes more pain. All of them deserve recognition, by the way. We have overlapping and non-harmonious approaches from law enforcement and different agencies. We have figuring out where the public needs to put their energy. We have who is more responsible? Like the question, like who's more responsible? Like, is it tech platforms or is it parents? I feel like a certain degree of responsibility is going to fall on both. That's probably the short answer to that. We have corruption in law enforcement and those institutions. We've seen that with, again, the drama, and it's not just drama. It's degrading of the soul for as an American to hear this news constantly. Like it's degrading entirely. It is entirely miserable and tyrannical to hear about, right? The corruption. We also have fact checking is difficult, and certain figures and details go underreported or unreported. We have how should perpetrators be punished, and should we try to prevent them from offending in the first place, if that's even an area of concern, which it is not for some people. The majority of people I've spoken to about that just believe that predators should just kind of face the death penalty. And again, I don't really know. I would say I don't really know. I want to know. I want to know what's right, but it's fucking almost impossible to know what's right half the time. So here's what I feel like I learned despite this chaos. The general public need to use their resources for like big and truly horrible problems, like we have to. Every last person has some kind of role to play in exploitation prevention. I mean, because we live in an integrated society, so everybody has something to do, even if it's just being aware and being educated. Caretakers need to, like parents and stuff, they need to have full control over their technology. Because if we don't have adequate checks and balances on a lot of our current tech, you know, like computers, the internet, or on our government too, like we need to have balances and checks and just control. And I've seen with computers especially, just computers and phones, just people just lose control. They just, oh my god, they just, so many people are completely addicted to their phones, myself included, honestly, right? It's tragic, and we need control. Values like accountability, transparency, and hopefully like insightful solutions based communication and empathy and like things like this, like taking action. Like I think of these as my values, the values that I want to have that are like a guiding compass in this fight against exploitation and in my life in general. I hope that these things are baked into society instead of exploitation being baked into society. Especially into institutions of trust. I mean, we have, dare I say it again, right? The corruption. There it is again, right? We have institutions that need to be trusted that just aren't helping. They're falling behind so disappointingly. And that is why I'm still here. It is because of these reasons. Trust is historically used to take advantage of children. Like, that's like one of the strategies of predators. So it's just systems of trust. Like in the United States, for example, NCMEC, National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, you know, even organizations like that need to be fully accountable through and through. And lastly, out of these things that I think that I've learned, small actions fucking matter. Okay, the biggest lie that we've ever been told in society is that our small, insignificant actions don't really matter. Like, you're not really going to affect policy. You're not really, I mean, like, you can do that, but it's not going to, like, save the world or anything. Bullshit. Okay, if every single person right now who has those thoughts started making small changes, could you fucking imagine what would happen? What would come of that? My deepest fantasies as a person, my deepest, most beautiful fantasy of like waking up one day and just like seeing the news and like seeing that just suddenly an entire society has just chosen to fully prioritize children, fully prioritize welfare, fully prioritize life. That would happen if we all just took small actions. My deepest fantasies would come true, right? So I want to mention something. I'll just call it like my it's my anti-exploitation division of sorts. It's not functional yet, but it would be a small online based organization that would essentially fill in the gaps to like rescue vulnerable and tortured young people. And we would do this through high level technical and like legal methods, right? Everything falling under strict rules and adherence to laws and especially values like communication, empathy, control over technology, sustainability, thorough process, and big picture thinking, just to name a few, right? And so that's what I like talked to my brother about. Was like, I want to make this come to life. I want to make something great like this. Like, could you imagine like a small scale team that just it's very small, so it would be intentionally very, very, very small, just to get the ball rolling and just to inspire people and just to get the work going. But we would study these legal processes and we would learn about things and we would take action. But again, these things are hard. It's all very hard when you just are completely overwhelmed by the existence of exploitation. But it is kind of vague, right? Because I want to work on the idea with other people. I want to work on the idea with other people. And I want to have something tangible, something that we can measure our impact with. And that's ultimately what that specific thing is about. And this sort of ties in to like my overall efforts to promote activism and preparedness and sharing those solutions that I learned, right? I mean, it like I have quite a large social media presence in a lot of ways, and this is just part of that. This is part of my activism and hopefully my gifts to give to the world. But to conclude my thoughts on that, I am comfortable with taking it slow for now. I mean, again, if we're doing work to like that would ideally help children be rescued, then that can't necessarily wait, right? Because priorities and like I don't know, we think about like human trafficking victims and stuff, and it's like they can't wait. So, but I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable taking some time with this to figure out the right people, figure out how to do this. I'm confident. I'm confident in this happening. I'm confident in this working out in some way. Because as my brother and I talked, we eventually came to our closing thoughts on the matter. And he said, look, if you keep trying, something's going to happen. And it was honestly amazing to hear that. Yeah. So that's that. And now I guess I kind of want to shift focus to the general question, the general proposal that I have with this video. So, with diving deep into solutions for a specific area of work, I've noticed that we risk getting overconfident and producing unintended consequences, and that's a big fear. And it is a big thing that we do need to consider when doing any kind of work, really. I want to solve it all, Like, I want to solve every problem, right? This is kind of how I am, which is not the best thing in a lot of ways, but obviously I can't. So in my mind, the next best thing is to start the fire, right? I want to ask if we can all look towards the most vulnerable and the most hurt among us. I'm asking if we can empower each other to do that as well. I'm an able-bodied person, but I feel like my personal success and thriving feels kind of lifeless and purposeless if I never end up helping the people in the world who are dying, who are victimized. Does that make sense? Does anybody else share that sentiment? I mean, that's like foundational to like why I care about this. It would feel like a demon creeping up on me to ignore them. Those people who, they're somewhere else in the world. You can't do anything to affect them, so we've been told. But for me, it just feels like, why wouldn't you try to pay attention to them? What is going on? What do you mean there are hundreds of millions of human trafficking victims? What do you mean there's modern slavery? What do you mean there are thousands upon thousands upon thousands of pedophiles readily and easily accessible on the surface web, not even the deep web? What do you mean? What is going on? How does this exist? What do you mean the president of the United States is, and again, I won't go into detail because you've heard it a million times. What do you mean? What is going on? So feeling the pain of the world, I guess that's what I do in a lot of ways. It can feel good and hopeful and empowering, as painful as it is. It can feel empowering because it gives people like me a sense of purpose, which is good. And it can give other people a sense of purpose, which I encourage if this kind of thing would be right for you, right? But it can quickly become worse. It can become like sitting in hell, like just sitting in hellfire. Social media algorithms, by the way, they can also easily become hell. So what I like to do is I like to replace scrolling with looking at like Google Maps or something like that, right? Now, it's interesting. It's just a thing that I do, right? To make sense of the world. It's like I look at the map. But I see a beautiful world with amazing, huge cities. Like, they're huge when you look at them. The world as a whole looks kind of small, which is interesting, but there's just these huge cities and civilizations, and just everybody's so packed together. And I keep thinking about this, right? Those cities are full of smart, capable people who, and every time I just look at these cities, I'm just like, I don't know, it's weird. It's just like, these are going to be the people who will end this pain. It's just like these smart people. Not just in the cities, like everywhere in the world, right? But I don't know. It reminds me in like the movie, like The Dark Knight Rises, where, I don't know, they're just talking about like Gotham and how like bright the people of Gotham are, and just, I don't know, surviving like the terror, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, I don't know, I just find it very inspiring and interesting. And, these big cities are the headquarters of organizations. Um, we think of like NCMEC, National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. We think of other organizations like Lantern Rescue Foundation, or basically any humanitarian aid organization, or anything, right? Victim advocacy. They're based in these cities, and it's so inspiring for me. All that to say, I need help from the rest of the world with working towards solutions. That's my broad need. I don't want myself to be the one who accomplishes everything. If I woke up tomorrow and I saw, say, that news headline that I talked about earlier, something magical, right? Something that shows me that society has prioritized the right things, I would feel fulfilled no matter how much work I did all the years prior in my life. Everything I did in my life, if I saw that news headline, I would feel great no matter what. Because this isn't about me. It's not about me. At the end of the day, it is not about me feeling good about my work. It is not about me doing the right work necessarily. It is in a lot of ways, but this is about change happening and things being turned around by our actions. And you have to understand that. I would feel entirely fulfilled if change happened, not if I had the perfect organization or if I had the perfect outlook on child exploitation. Not about my success. So I needed to reiterate that one final time. So that's kind of my broad need. I need the entire society to just like work on this alongside me. I need to know that I'm not alone in a way. And specifically, I feel like I need people to check my work, right? And see if it means anything. Give feedback. I want to work with people towards making objectively real and measurable change. Not just measurable, also like inspiring people. That's also part of it, right? Through projects, likely and hopefully local projects that have values behind them, like have real genuine values behind them. And I guess I am kind of inspired by like, it's kind of funny, right? But I am kind of inspired by the Dark Knight movie because, like, Batman fights the crime, like, while following, like, he strictly follows a couple values, which, like, seem to set him back, of course, especially when there's, like, proper terrorism in Gotham. But, it sets him back, but he gets it fucking done despite the limitations. But the limitations, like, they're important, too, because the limitations, imposing values and like living by values, living by limitations, means that you're taking shit seriously, and like activism and like anti-abuse work, it's not just like a spectacle. Like, that's what it's saying, is like, if you live by values, it's like, this ain't just a joke to me, this is fucking real. I think I touched on everything I wanted to touch on in this video. If not, I don't know. I think that's it. Thank you for watching. I mean, if you want to get involved with my specific work that I'm doing, then you can reach out to me, show interest, right? In any way that you want to. I have an email attached to this, I believe, or some way to contact me, right? But if nothing else, I just want to know that change is being made in society. That's if nothing else, just go and be prepared. Go and learn about exploitation. Go and learn about what it is. See if you can learn anything. Obviously, I would be here to help you as well, because I care about this shit so fucking deeply, right? And I want to talk about it with people. But yeah, I mean, if nothing else, just go and do something to make the world better. And even if I get no comments on this, even if there is no engagement with this post whatsoever, I will still be keeping an eye out for that news headline. I will conclude the video by reading my fantasy, the fantasy that I mentioned. And it's a little bit outdated, but a little bit not outdated. In fact, it's still very important to me. Thank you for listening to this, by the way. So I envision it going something a little bit like this. My longtime friend, who I started this work with, has informed me that the elitist industry of exploitation and child obscenity has been starved of all power, and the war has essentially been won. These organizations that operate in secrecy have been exposed, their methods revealed, and everyone has learned from them. Their abuse does not work anymore because the people are fully prepared and have adequate tools to understand and respond to the exploitation risks of our time. Child exploitation has long been a plague that has stolen life. And we have targeted its root causes and enablers, as well as every hidden organization of molesters, pedophiles, rich people, and obscenity business people that operate. The Hands-On Project has allowed us to safely examine the functions of the hidden exploitation rings and destroy each part by pressuring companies to implement real features that would protect people, among other things, many other methods, right? Poverty, neglect, selfishness, anger, perverse incentive structures, anti-predator work, like I guess the stuff that you would see online, which is the stuff I was originally familiar with, right, is like quote-unquote pedo hunting, right, which I'm not involved with anymore. But that work has been revolutionized, so to speak. And everyone who insists on doing that kind of hands-on work can do it legally and safely while protecting their mental health and acting in an efficient way that respects law and the order that should be maintained in order to deal with such a sensitive line of work. A map for families has been created, free, entirely free to everyone, that saves parents their time while allowing them to easily and safely navigate the wild sea of exploitation risks with ease. Parents can request help with anything related to ensuring their children are not taken advantage of through the technology of our time. And they can also navigate the full resource directory themselves. Even greater than all this, each community is sustainable, like local community, is sustainable in its efforts to provide food and useful resources to its people. There is no scarcity that would drive poverty, which is a root cause of exploitation. An abuser... Oh, wait. I apologize. Sustainable in its efforts to provide food and resources to its people. Sustainable in its economic position. And sustainable and loving towards the earth. Who has demanded respect from the most powerful and impactful species within it, right? Which is another part of my beliefs, and I'm not reading this just for a second, but that's another part of my beliefs, is just humans are the most powerful species, and so we need to help them. And it's as simple as that sometimes. So continuing on, of course, there will always be some caretaker or parent who does not care, someone who subjects their child to abuse, an abuser who is so closely and constantly tied to the child to where the child is totally oppressed. For this, we have a plan. There will always be a healthy community, a place of refuge close by because of how healthy our society is overall. A wise and educated person who is prepared, who can notice signs, who will seek to expose and dismantle every last bit of unseen abuse in the world, using various technological advancements and resources and just knowledge that are, of course, available to everybody. All exploitation that can be prevented is prevented. And I should really quickly throw this in here. Also, reporting exploitation will include follow-ups and a resolution, because we will have fully equipped and prepared and up-to-date law enforcement that is not driven by any kind of hidden structure of incentives, so to speak. The people of our nation and worldwide community are healthy, mentally and physically, and have made a promise to protect the young people of our earth, whom are the most delicate and important. The people are strong and wise, and good has the power, has all the power. So yeah, I imagine, that's my fantasy. I don't know what people might think of that, but I'm open to talking about that. I'm open to talking about anything because I want to figure these things out and I want to talk about them and I want to be certain moving forward. I want to be certain in my work. I want to know that what I'm doing is good. So thank you for watching. And if nothing else, I just hope that you care a little bit more about life and to know that you can make change. So thank you for watching. I'll end this now.